Hello, James here. I'm going to do a video. Hope you guys doing good out there. I'm about to do a video about. First, I'm gonna start out about young black men. What's been going on, and why is it that why it's between political and when people say what it's just the past, but I'm gonna show you some present cases and how they all link together. What this latest thing, but let's go back to the original. This young man that got lynched for falsely accused of touching this woman, and you see the outcome of it. Emmett Till.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. So apparently, Carolyn Bryan Donham, the white woman who is ultimately responsible for the death of Emmett Till, is dead. 88 years old. Hmm. All right. Okay. Mhm. Okay, so anyway, a lot's going on in the world, family. A whole lot is going on in the world. And we are all fully aware of it. And part of what's happening is the Most High is definitely moving, isn't he? He is moving. Now, I know some people are sorrowful right now. But the thing that always comes to mind for me when anyone passes away, I always wonder, what is it like? What is it going to be like for that person when they actually stand before the Most High? Y'all ever wonder about that? No, it may not happen at the moment of death once a person crosses over. It may not happen then, but it's going to happen. The Bible tells us that every knee is going to bow and every tongue is going to confess, right? Is he lying? No, he's not. It also says that every man and woman is going to give an account for the deeds done in their body on the day of judgment. It also says that everyone's going to give an account for every idle word. So the things that you have to give an account for are the things that are still on the tab, things that are unrepented for, meaning there was no price paid for it. Unrepentant, so these things have a bill that's due. When something or someone is unrepentant, that means they have a debt that hasn't been paid. See, repentance wipes the slate clean. Y'all hear what I'm saying? But a person of an unrepentant heart, they have a bill that is due. A bill that is due. And when they stand before the Most High, it's time to pay up. A lot of people have been deceived in this world. Some people think that they're going to stand before the Most High and they're going to be able to bat their blue eyes or flash their white privilege card, or if you're a black person, think you're going to be able to say, well, I already suffered on the earth, and or I'm of this seed or that seed, or I'm from Africa, or back to white people, they think they'll be able to say, well, I had good credit on earth, or I was rich on earth, we were considered superior on earth. People think that they have all kinds of wild fantasies. That's why the Bible said that many shall come to him on that day. They shall stand before him and say, Lord, Lord, haven't we done all these things, right? And Most High is going to give you the equivalent of, get out of here. I don't know you. Get away from here. So say, I never knew you. So it always comes to my mind, what is it going to be like for a person when they cross over, when they finally stand before the Most High? What is the conversation going to be like? What is it going to be like? Is the Most High going to look at that person and say, well done, my good and faithful servant? Or is he going to say, depart from me, I never knew you? What is that meaning like? See, people don't count up the cost before they cross over, before they leave this earth, before they draw their last breath. They don't count up the cost. Now, there are some people who some would consider to be reprobate that are alive on this earth right now. They would feel that this moment right now is the moment at which you know she paid her dues. And there are some who would put angel wings on the back. There are some who have captured this person in the arms of the Most High, being cradled in heaven. But see, reality says this. Let me tell y'all something about reality. This is why I talk so much about understanding who the Most High is. He is not to be played with. Reality says this, that everybody has got to give an account for the deeds done to their body. If you have not repented for the wickedness that you have done on this earth before you draw your last breath, you will not meet the Most High in peace. It doesn't matter how your loved ones feel about it. The truth is what it is, whether we like it or not. The time for repentance is before you draw your last breath. Some people take their wickedness to the grave with them. They think that keeping it bottled up in their heart is enough to excuse them. As long as people don't really know. See, that's the problem. Too many people live for people. But the word of the Most High says, don't fear them who could destroy your body, but fear him who could destroy your body and your soul in hellfire.
That's true. I'm playing a little segment leading up to that.
Story. She was trying to take up her legacy. She was trying to get paid for her and her family. And just because this bitch dead don't mean this story should ever die. Because other communities never let their stories die. Or even their exaggerations of lies. If Emmett was alive, Emmett would be 77 years old, 78 years old. Think about that. Emmett wasn't that much older than my father. I'm not going to put the image of Emmett's really like body. I'm not going to do that. I've seen it too much. Every time I see it, it angers me. And I'm angry right now because the bitch died without being put on trial. Or at least make the perk walk. I hope to God that if she don't get cremated and they bury her, people find where her grave is at, and I hope they trash it. But also that the family suffer. Her kids need to suffer. Her grandkids need to suffer. I had money, I would put a big ass sign on a highway, on an electric sign saying, God, may she rest in hell. Evil ass bitch. Carolyn Bryant Dunn, woman at the center of Emmett Till lynching, dies. Carolyn Bryant Dunn, a woman at the center of the 1955 killing of teenage Emmett Till, has died. Dunn, the white woman accused of black teen making improper advances for this lynch, died in hospice care in Louisiana. Oh, she was in Louisiana, not Mississippi. Okay, state of Louisiana gave her cover too. A Quantum Report show she was 88. Till's kidnapping killer became a catalyst for the civil rights movement when his mother and sister were on an open casket funeral in her hometown of Chicago. After his brutalized body was pulled from the river in Mississippi, Jet magazine published photos. Till traveled from Chicago to visit relatives in Mississippi in August of 1955. Dunn named Carolyn Bryant, accused of making improper advances at a grocery store in a small community of Money, Mississippi. The Reverend Wheeler Parker and cousin Emmett Till was there, said 14-year-old Till whistled at the woman and acted fluent in facing Mississippi racist social codes of the era. And I'm going to say something again. His cousins knew that he had a stuttering problem, and they added to that drama that Emmett was whistling at her. Anybody who knows Emmett said when he got me trying to talk, couldn't get on, it would come out like a whistle. That's why I'm glad the TV movie that ABC premiered last year and the movie that came out recently called Till, they put that in because they always leave that piece out. Evidence indicates the woman identified Till to her then husband, Roy Bryant, his half-brother J. W. Myler, who killed the teenager. An all-white jury put the two men in the killing, but the men later confessed in an interview with Look magazine. In an unpublished memoir obtained by the Associated Press in 2022, Dunham said she was unaware of what would happen to the 14-year-old Till. Dunham was 21 at the time, lying ass bitch. The contents of a 99-page manuscript titled I'm More Than a Wolf Whistle were first reported by the Mississippi Center for Investigative Reporting. Historian and author Timothy Tyson of Dunham, who said he obtained a copy from Dunham while interviewing her, 2008 provided a copy to the AP. Tyson puts the manuscript in an archive at the University of North Carolina, where the agreement did not be made public for decades. Why would it be made public for decades? She knew she was close to death or was of an age, and she didn't want her children, her grandchildren, or great-grandchildren to suffer. That's why I told you guys, make their life a living fucking hell. Duty said he gave it to the FBI during the investigation in Ace concluded last year. He said he decided to make public now following the recent discovery of arrest warrant on kidnapping charges issued in Dunham at 55 but never served. They all protected her. They all went around and gave her cover. So all you people is out there talking about let her live a life, she an old woman. I hope y'all kept suffering in hell. Y'all gave this woman damn near 60-something years of cover. No, almost 70 years of cover. What the fuck I'm talking about? In 2 years, it'd be 70 years. So y'all gave her 68 motherfucking years of cover. And telling black folk, we need to move on. Emmett mother went to her grave seeking justice for her child. This bitch got to live her life and go to cookouts, go on vacations, hold her grandchildren, see her kids grow. Emmett mama got that taken away from her. And the politicians gave her cover. So those of y'all who say y'all not racist and gave this woman cover and made excuses up, all y'all go to motherfucking hell. Up there, shit, get justice in the afterlife. We don't know what fucking afterlife exists. Bitch, I hope you suffer in your last days. I'm angry and I'm frustrated because you have all these murderers still walking around. They defenders, like everyone that was on that jury should be put on blast. I'm telling y'all, if I had the kind of money that some rich people have been using, I would be putting up all kinds of signs of plaques all up and down the interstate. In Louisiana gave cover, Mississippi gave cover, the South gave cover, even the northern cities gave cover. You know, like Justin, you guys need to get over it. The judicial system spoke. And then a fucking magazine turned around and paid the motherfuckers. They said, yeah, we did it. And they got to walk free. They should have had bullets put between their eyes from once they said that. I'm not a violent person, but the more you think about it, you think about how arrogant and outrageous it was for them to get away with it and brag about it and walk free. And when people was yelling a decade ago to arrest this bitch, the media gave her cover and law enforcement gave her cover. Had it been the other way around, it would have been a trial, it would have been murder. That end had been white, yellow, brown, been black. You even got that goddamn father. They would have like, so, he held after you work with her, he touched you, whatever lie she said. He's a white guy, he's a white way to do those things. Nobody talk about the white boys that ride up and down the road in them southern towns and rape little black girls and black women. Oh, y'all thought that was just a movie plot device? That shit really happened. And if they wanted to mess with little boys and those guys were gay and they was racist, they would rape black boys, black men. And she claimed she didn't know. You grew up in a motherfucking South. By the time she was 5 years old, she knew what her power was. So, everybody, I know I want to dance and jig and drink a drink, and she gone. But the more I think about it, that family didn't give me justice. The federal government, the Obama administration, the Clinton administration, the Bush administration, and the Biden administration, and who was the president at the time? Was it Eisenhower? They let this family down. They let the Till family down. And we as black folk let it down because actually Emmett Till mother faded away. And those who's in black they used to the one that black they found out that they lied and tried to make like Emmett's father was a rapist. They threw her to the side. And the only people that talked about it were those who knew that history and lived in Chicago. Outside of Chicago, you ask people, or some people in Chicago, who's Emmett Till? I don't know. It wasn't until they did a report around 1985 talking about it, and that's when they caught fire again. Think about these administrations that give lip service. We had our so-called black president. He didn't get his people that you guys need to go ahead and do this. The FBI like, oh, we don't have the FBI. Y'all can go ahead and go after Bill Cosby on hearsay. Y'all went and got R. Kelly on alleged incidents that happened 30 years ago. He's in jail. Y'all let this bitch walk around for years. They still hunting down Nazi sympathizers. But this woman, y'all want to know. So don't tell me about American judicial system. America, the land of free, home of rape. Yeah, right. For certain people. I better calm down while I'm having a fucking stroke around. Nah, just, I want this bitch to suffer. But like I said, every year, her birthday, people should make crank call. I'm dead serious. People should go to the house and say, your bitch ass mama dead. Every year we should talk about, when we talk about honoring Emmett Till, we need to say, we're glad the bitch dead. Everybody on social media should go around and tap the gallon, bitch, gone. We hope our rotten ass kids and grandkids and great grandkids should have, we hope they suffer. 47. This bitch live 40. Man, ooh, ain't that how it goes? People don't bother nobody. People respect people. They can drop dead of a heart attack, get in the car accident, get shot by some random crime. But the motherfuckers that deserve all that pain and something good to be right. Some people say they suffer. No, they ain't. Because she was suffering. She was in her life damn near 70 years ago.
I'm gonna leave right there. And the reason why I played this because when Emmett Till was killed, they found parts of his body in Mississippi in 1955. But I'm going to show you what happened recently with a young man who was going in Mississippi just to work at a company. Did you hear about this young man, Raheem Carter?
Meet the ultimate plasma lighter. It works in wind, rain, and other harsh conditions. This new military-grade lighter is the ultimate survival tool. It doesn't run on gas or butane. Instead, it uses Tesla coil technology to produce a 1,800-degree plasma flame.
There's a brother by the name of Rasheem Carter. And many of us don't know his name, but we should know this brother's name because the way this brother had lost his life is one of the most heinous ways that it was done by the white supremacists. Now, this brother was from Fayette, Mississippi. And this brother had issues at his job. And he was working for them folks. And I want you to hear what his mom has to say about some of this. And, of course, Benjamin Crump is involved with it. And I tell people, you know, some people complain on Benjamin Crump, but look, as long as you got the devil running around, Benjamin Crump going to have something to do. I don't have nothing against the brother, because a lot of times he brings us things to light that we did not know. But let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Actually told me that it was 3 white trucks full of white men trying to harm him, trying to kill him. And I told him to go to the police station and everything. He did everything that I, asked him to do. They told him he couldn't stay there. He didn't stay there. He texted me after he left the police department, and he said that, Mom, if something, he told me, we're not seeing eye to eye. My boss and I are not seeing eye to eye. And then he put his boss name there, and he put the company name there, and he told me if something happened to him, his boss was responsible. And he said, Mama, I'm smart. He got these men trying to kill me. I told the sheriff, I said that, he said, when I told him it was foul play, he said, no, it's no foul play.
Rasheem was found on November 2nd in that condition, and it wasn't even like a day before the no foul play was, posted on Facebook.
And it wasn't until our firm and a lot of other people started saying this doesn't add up. When you look at that text message and the fact that he was being chased, you have to investigate this. You cannot try to tell this broken-hearted mother that her son being found with his head decapitated was natural, because I believe, as Tiffany said, he said, oh, he must have got dehydrated and passed out, and animals tore his body apart from the head, the spinal cord. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever.
What sense does it make for the police to say there is no evidence of foul play? He didn't dismember himself.
Yeah, that was a very poor statement by law enforcement down there in Mississippi, because for 4 months, they really haven't been able to figure out what happened here. And at best, you have wild animals and the body parts are scattered over 2 acres. But this is the type of case, I'm Team Ben Crump. You got to get the feds involved here. You got to figure out what happened, because if Mom is right and he was really being chased by 3 truckloads of white men, you have a potential motive here. You may have a hate crime, you have a murder, and if you can't figure it out, law enforcement, you gotta get feds involved so they can.
Y'all have to understand, the reason why I call the white supremacist Satan is because no other group of people have historically in this land did the things that they have done to black people. No other group has made a covenant with Satan, and that covenant has to be with the hatred of the black man and woman of America and throughout the world. I have covered story after story after story after story of black men and black women and children that has lost their lives in heinous ways to the white supremacists. And those who don't even participate in that will give an excuse because they all in covenant and in league with the devil. Those who do it and those who support it. Now this brother was being chased by 3 truckloads of white supremacists. He went to the Taylorsville Police Department, told them, hey, my life is in danger. These dudes following me. Oh, you can't stay here. He's telling you that a crime, that he's a potential victim of a crime, you're supposed to go find out what's going on. But I told y'all, in these little enclaves, like those in Mississippi, in Alabama, these little enclaves in Louisiana, certain parts of Texas, black people are not safe in these areas. It is crawling with devils, crawling with them. And the police, you didn't go to nobody that's going to help you. Because the same guys in the trucks is the police. The same guys in the trucks is the DA in them towns like that. The same guys in those trucks are the judges. The same guys in those trucks are your paramedics, your firefighters, all that. The same guys in those trucks. It is a dangerous thing for black people to stay in those enclaves. Black people need to be in upper centers of black people where you have backup and protection. I've always said that. It is dangerous for you to be anywhere like that. So this brother went to the police department, asked for help, said, he told me you can't stay here. And the white supremacists were still waiting for him when he got out there because they knew there was their buddies in there. They knew, oh, they on the team. We just need to wait. He'll come out. They'll make sure he come out. Understand? So this brother go back out, try to get away from these white supremacists by himself, and they get him and they take this brother's life because listen, I told you the white supremacists feed on the pain, suffering, oppression, blood, and death of black people. They get energy from that. They feed on that. This is why when you're happy, when you're successful, when you're just doing good, when we're getting along as black people in peace and harmony throughout the world, it terrifies and bothers the white supremacists because he feed on that. I told you they are devils. When I say that, I'm not saying that just to make a video. I'm telling you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told you, everybody told you based on what they have done. I would be wrong to say that word if they didn't do anything. I would be wrong to say devil if they never shed black people's blood. I would be wrong to say devil if they didn't enslave black folk. I would be wrong to say devil if they didn't do what they did to George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or whatever everybody else that we can talk about, Michael Brown. I would be wrong to say that. I would be wrong to say that if they didn't do what they did to Dr. King. I would be wrong. But we have a documented history of innocent blood shed by black men and black women, innocent children that was bombed to death in the church by the white supremacists. So when I label them that, I'm labeling as something that's accurate. What did Jesus say what the devil has come to do? To kill, steal, and destroy. That's what he said in the scriptures. What has these have done to black people? Done nothing but kill, steal, and destroy. That's it. Lie. Cause division. Sow discord among the brethren. So they caught up with our brother and they severed his head. And they made sure to put that somewhere. And they not only did that, they took out his spinal cord and other parts of him and put it other places. They had his body all over the place. They just recently found another body part of this brother. And they hid this story. That local media down there hid this story. Because if black folks would have known when this happened back in November, it would have been something going on. So what we want to know is, who are these white supremacists in them trucks? Where are they? What's going on? Because this is one of the most heinous things I've heard in a long time. You know why I keep reporting on these things? Somebody say, why are you already reporting on that? It's because if I don't report on it, or if we don't report on it, those of us who's doing this, a lot of you would not know. A lot of you, they got black folks on the internet that will tell you, don't focus on that stuff. Y'all just acting like you're victims. And what are you talking about? That stuff was a long time ago. You got black folks that say that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yes.
What about this brother then? This was in the 1950s. This happened in 2022, and they just found more body parts this year. What do you say to that? Those of you say, oh, you guys always want to focus on victimhood and victimhood. That brother was a victim. Should we not focus on our brother? And if it can happen to him, it can happen to you, it can happen to me. This is why I have said to y'all, you want to hunker down with the devil? You want to be attached to the hip to him? You want to take on his ways? You want to use his words? And I promise you, our brother, one of the last words he heard was that N-word. And you got silly raccoons telling me I disagree with you. We can say it and this and that. That brother, that was the last word that brother heard. No matter what black folks are doing in this country, they are protected. These white supremacists are protected. And the best way they are protecting themselves is doing these things and hiding it in these little enclaves. See, they can't pull that in Houston. They pull it in Houston, look what's going to happen. Or Dallas, or in Atlanta, or Baltimore, or DC, or NYC. They'll do it, but eventually it's gonna come down to something. I always told black people, you are safer when you're in enclaves of your people. These little small towns, they don't have no black people. I told you, if it's less than 10% black people in any city, you don't need to be there. If you know you staying with the most ignorant of the ignorant of white supremacists, the devil of the devils, you know this. You need to get your behind out of there and move. Get to a city where there's enough people that look like you and me.
There's a reason for that.
I told y'all, no matter where we go in America, we literally can't live with them. Because they're going to try to start some devilment, even when we're getting along, doing our own thing, separate, do whatever we're doing, they're going to try to break that up. Because we always, that's their thing. Let's break up black people. Don't break up everybody else, it's just black people. That's why I said for me personally, I'm not talking about you. Now, if you agree with my assessment, that's fine. But with me personally, I know the ultimate way to get away from the devil is not to live in the house with him. Now, sure, white supremacy is global, and people will tell you that, and I agree with that. But it's a difference living in the house of the white supremacist and having some distance from him when you're not in his house. He could touch you a lot quicker in his house than he can when he got to go on a plane or get somewhere else to get to you. You understand? It's going to cost him a little something to get to you if he really want to get to you somewhere else. See, when you're in his house and you're in his domain and in his control, it's easy to get to you. You don't have to spend anything to get at you. That's the difference. It's like if you live in a cave with a bear, well, the bear can get at you. You're in the cave with him. Versus if you're in the same forest where the bear is at, well, then if the bear come up on you, come up on you, but you can have a higher probability to avoid that bear, to even maybe fight against the bear, because you may even see him coming, versus if you're in the cave with him. And black folks are in the house with the white supremacists when you are in the Western world, especially in America. You are in the cave with him in these little small towns in Mississippi. Mississippi is one of the most numerous states of black folk, and black folks are suffering the most poverty. It should not be that way. Look at all the black folks in Louisiana. Look how impoverished black folks are in Louisiana. It should not be that way. Black folks are told you, for your safety, if you go live in Babylon, get to cities where your people is at, and when you get a lot of people, take control of the politics. You become the sheriff, the DA, the judge, you become the police, you become the school board, you become the teachers at the school, you get involved with everything and take over that city. It doesn't make sense if you got a city full of black folk and black folks don't run nothing. I'm talking about real black people, not raccoons. Just like our brother Ahmaud Arbery, how they same thing, a truck chased him down and gunned him down. They would have got away with that. That videotape wasn't there. It's the same thing with our brother here. Remember, these people have not changed. I told you, they are not a progressive group of people. They used to sit up here and have tickets. They would buy at their so-called demonic church to go and to watch the torture of a black man. They would bring their children to watch this. And then after the black man is passed away, they fight for the body parts. Listen, only a devil would do that. No logical, sane human being would ever do something like that. And I wish I could show you the pictures.
Do you ever wonder about the legal ramifications?
I'll show you another video.
Business owners, we can get you approved for an equipment loan in as little as 24 hours.
Imagine living in a thriving black community where you could find refuge from discrimination and violence in the days when racism was at its peak. Such communities existed in the United States during segregation, and at least 200 of them were established by 1888. But as time passed, many of these communities disappeared from the map, completely erased from history. You may ask, how is that even possible? Why were these towns deliberately hidden and erased? And what can we learn from this dark and troubling part of American history? In this video, we will reveal some of the major black towns now hidden underwater or transformed into something else, and their black inhabitants displaced. The first is the Seneca Village in New York City. Seneca Village, a once thriving African-American community, was established in 1825 on the outskirts of New York City at a time when African-American residents were facing legal segregation and discrimination throughout the country. At its height, the village covered an area from 82nd Street to 89th Street on Manhattan's Upper West Side, with approximately 300 black residents living within its borders. The people of Seneca Village had a deep sense of community and worked hard to build a prosperous and thriving neighborhood. Many black residents were property owners, with a rate 5 times higher than the city's average. Seneca Village had 3 churches, a school, and various small businesses, such as a grocery store, a shoemaker, and a blacksmith. However, the residents of Seneca Village faced many challenges, including discriminatory laws that restricted their freedoms and opportunities. As the city of New York began to expand and urbanization took hold, many wealthy New Yorkers sought to improve the area by creating a large park, which is now known as Central Park. In 1855, the New York State Legislature passed the act to lay out a public park in the city of New York, which authorized using the eminent domain to seize land to create Central Park. The residents of...
Oh, sorry about that.
The flow of the information too. But really,
sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. Accidentally hit that. Let me go back to that. But yeah, things don't change, man.
But
before 1985, when Cambridge University Press published this book I'm going to talk about later, you have Haile Selassie in 1974. Now, I just took a screenshot of the Google search and what it shows you. Now, Haile Selassie is an interesting political figure. On the right, here's what it says. Haile Selassie I was crown prince and regent of the Ethiopian Empire from 1916 to 1928, and then king and regent from 1928 to 1930, and finally emperor from 1930 to 1974. He is a defining figure in modern Ethiopian history. Why is he important? He's important because he was the last emperor or king of the Solomonic dynasty. Now you'll see on there, if you're watching the video, you see my results that come up when you search for Solomonic dynasty on the...
No, I think they're going to a different direction, but I'm sorry about that. Got interrupted, but let's go to this video.
We all know the story of slavery. The transatlantic slave trade, the forced labor, the inhumane treatment of men, women, and children, and the eventual abolition of the slave trade. But what many of us don't know is that the abolition of the slave trade in the early 19th century led to the creation of a new and even more sinister aspect of slavery: sex farms and slave breeding farms. The goal of these farms was simple: to produce more slaves. Slave owners realized that they could no longer import slaves from Africa, so they turned to breeding them like animals. They would carefully select which slaves would mate with each other based on their physical attributes, health, and even intelligence, in the hopes of producing the strongest and most profitable offspring. Slave breeding farms were located throughout the southern United States, with some estimates suggesting that there were as many as 70 in operation at the height of their popularity. These farms were often run by wealthy plantation owners who saw slave breeding as a lucrative business opportunity. But the horrors of slave breeding farms did not stop there. In some cases, plantation owners would set up sex farms, where slaves, often young girls, were forced to engage in sexual activity with other slaves or with the plantation owners themselves. The offspring of these forced sexual encounters were also seen as profitable commodities and were often sold off at auctions to the highest bidder. The true extent of these practices is difficult to quantify, as records were often destroyed or deliberately hidden. But it is estimated that thousands of slaves were forced to participate in these breeding programs, resulting in countless atrocities and human rights violations. In this video, we are going to reveal 10 of the most horrific facts of slave breeding and sex farms in the United States. These facts may be uncomfortable to hear, but it's important to acknowledge the brutality and inhumanity of slavery in all its forms. But before that, hit the subscribe button to stay on this channel for more content like this. Fact number 1. Enslaved women were seen as breeding machines and impregnated by several men. One of the most disturbing facts about sex farms during slavery is that enslaved women were seen as little more than breeding machines. Plantation owners and overseers saw them as a means of producing more enslaved people to increase their wealth and power. In order to achieve this goal, enslaved women were often forced to have sex with several men, regardless of their own desires or consent. This practice was particularly prevalent in the Deep South, where the climate and soil were well suited to the cultivation of cotton, and the demand for enslaved labor was high. Enslaved women on these plantations were often subjected to brutal physical and sexual abuse, with no hope of escape or redress. They were seen as property rather than human beings, and their bodies were treated as such. The practice of forced breeding was not limited to the Deep South, however. It was also common in other regions of the country, including the Chesapeake Bay area and the Upper South. Plantation owners in these areas also saw enslaved women as a means of increasing their wealth and power, and used them accordingly. The evidence for the forced breeding of enslaved women can be found in a number of historical sources. Plantation records, for example, often include references to enslaved women who were breeders or breeding stock. These records also reveal the number of children produced by these women, as well as their age, health, and other relevant information. In addition to plantation records, there are also numerous slave narratives that document the experiences of enslaved women who were forced to breed. One such narrative is that of Harriet Jacobs, an enslaved woman who lived in North Carolina in the mid-19th century. In her memoir, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, Jacobs describes the horror of being forced to have sex with her owner in order to produce children. Fact number 2. Female slaves were forced into sexual relationships with their owners or overseers. Sexual abuse of female slaves was widespread during the period of American slavery. Slave women were not only subjected to forced labor, but also to sexual exploitation by their owners and overseers. This practice was not limited to any particular region or plantation, but it was prevalent throughout the American South. The first evidence of sexual abuse of female slaves can be traced back to the transatlantic slave trade. Female slaves were often taken captive and forced to endure the long and arduous journey across the Atlantic in cramped and unsanitary conditions. During this journey, slave women were subjected to sexual abuse by the crew members and the other male slaves. Once in the American South, female slaves were subjected to even more sexual abuse. This abuse took many forms, including rape, forced sexual relationships, and prostitution. Owners and overseers would often take advantage of their power and authority to coerce slave women into sexual relationships. These relationships were often violent and non-consensual, and many slave women were impregnated as a result. The children born from these forced sexual relationships were not considered the children of their fathers, but rather the property of their mother's owners. This meant that these children were also slaves and could be sold or traded just like any other commodity. This practice was particularly common in the Upper South, where slaves were bred for sale to the Lower South. One example of this practice can be found in the story of Sally Hemings, a slave woman who was owned by former U.S. President Thomas Jefferson. Hemings was forced into a sexual relationship with Jefferson, and she gave birth to 6 children, 4 of whom survived to adulthood. These children were not recognized as Jefferson's children during his lifetime, but DNA evidence has since confirmed their paternity. Another particularly disturbing example of sexual abuse is the case of Celia, a slave woman who was owned by Robert Newsom in Missouri. Newsom repeatedly raped Celia, and when she became pregnant, he refused to acknowledge the child as his own. When Celia killed Newsom in an act of self-defense, she was tried and convicted of murder and hanged. This case highlights the brutal reality of sexual abuse and violence that many slave women faced in the American South. Fact number 3. The offspring produced on sex farms were separated from their families and sold as soon as they were weaned. The practice of separating families during slavery was widespread, and it was not uncommon for enslaved children to be sold away from their parents. However, on sex farms, this practice was particularly prevalent. Enslaved women who were forced...
Hi, my name is Anne, and I would like to give you a few reasons why you should sign up for a free membership here at ChristianFilipina.com.
Imagine living in a thriving black community where you could find refuge from discrimination and Americans in Alabama faced a more devastating incident. Before we get into that, we'd like to introduce a new segment called Black Business Spotlight. Part of our mission is to uplift and empower the culture, and a great way to do that is by supporting black-owned businesses. So today, we'd like to share with you a company that focuses on empowering the community through reading and education. DTR 360 Books.
Hey, what's going on, family? Assalamu alaikum, shalom, shalom, Omtep, Islam, Malafia. Listen, DTR 360 Books is the fastest online bookstore right now. Alright, we have everything from comic books. Alright, we have everything from history books. That's right, we got this bad boy. We have everything like health books, and we got children books, religious books. Listen, anything, you name it, we got. Alright, definitely. Listen, click the link in the bio, DTR360books.com, and find out what's all the hype about. Listen, a reading people is a rising people. So let's rise, family. You can't go anywhere without proper education. Peace.
It's so important that we buy black and keep the dollar in our community. If you'd like to support DTR 360 Books, click the first link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. Tualaja in Alabama. Lake Martin is a beautiful destination in Alabama, famous for its crystal clear waters, boating activities, and stunning sunsets. However, the lake has a dark history that few people know. Underneath the tranquil waters of Lake Martin lies the ruins of Tualaja, a once thriving African-American community founded in the late 19th century. Kowalja was established by John Benson, a formerly enslaved person who had purchased thousands of acres of land in Alabama and sold it to other African American families. The community grew and prospered with its black-owned railroad and was home to the Kowalja Academic and Industrial Institute. This school provided education and vocational training to African American students. The school helped prepare generations of African American students to succeed in a world often hostile to them. Unfortunately, Kowalja's success was short-lived. The rise of the Ku Klux Klan and a lack of economic opportunities for African Americans in the area led to the community's decline in the 1920s. By the 1950s, the once thriving community had all disappeared. In the 1960s, the Alabama Power Company purchased the entire land to build a hydroelectric dam, which led to the creation of Lake Martin. The loss of Kowalja was a devastating blow to Alabama's black community. It is just one of the many mind-boggling examples of how black communities in America were systematically destroyed and forgotten throughout history. Despite this erasure, efforts are being made to preserve the memory of Kowalja and honor its legacy. The Kowalja Historical Society was established to preserve and promote the history of Kowalja and its contributions to Alabama and the United States. The society has created a museum that showcases the community's rich history, including exhibits on John Benson and the Kowalja Academic and Industrial Institute. The society also organizes tours of the area and hosts events celebrating Kowalja's heritage. In addition to the work of the Kowalja Historical Society, other organizations are also working to preserve and honor the community's memory. The Alabama Historical Commission has designated Kowalja as a historical site, and the National Park Service has recognized the town's contributions to the civil rights movement. The legacy of Kowalja lives on through the efforts of those who seek to honor and remember the community and its contributions to Alabama and the United States. And this is not the only city underwater, as right below the serene water of Lake Lanier is a land that was once thriving with human activities, Oscarville in Georgia. Lake Lanier in Georgia is a popular destination for weekend getaways, attracting visitors with its abundant fishing, boating, and other recreational activities. The lake spans over 38,000 acres and has over 692 miles of shoreline. It is located in the northern part of Georgia and serves as a major source of water supply for the city of Atlanta. However, what many people don't know is that the lake has a dark past. It sits on top of the ruins of Oscarville, a thriving African American community that was destroyed as far back as 1912. Oscarville was a small black community located in the northeastern part of Forsyth County, Georgia. The community was established in the late 1800s and was home to over 100 black families. The residents of Oscarville were hardworking farmers, carpenters, and other tradespeople who were able to establish a self-sufficient community despite the oppressive Jim Crow laws at the time. In September, 2 alleged assaults against white women were reported in the county. 2 black men were arrested, along with 4 accomplices. Shortly after, the body of a white resident was found, and several black residents were named as suspects. To provide safety, 1 suspect was transferred, but a mob of angry white residents gathered outside the jail. They seized and beat another suspect to death before hanging him in the town square. After the trials and executions, a group of white men, known as Night Riders, began a campaign of terror against the black residents of Oscarville. They burned homes, churches, and schools, forcing black families to flee the area. More than 1,000 residents were displaced in the aftermath of the violence. The land where Oscarville once stood was eventually purchased by the Army Corps of Engineers, who built Lake Lanier on top of the remains of the destroyed community. The construction of the lake began in the 1950s and was completed in the 1960s. The lake is now a popular destination for recreation and serves as a major source of hydroelectric power for the region. Today, there are reports of eerie occurrences and ghost sightings around the lake, adding to its already haunting history. Many visitors to the lake have reported seeing strange lights, hearing ghostly voices, and feeling a sense of unease in certain areas. Some believe that the ghosts of the former residents of Oscarville are still present at the lake, haunting the place where their homes and communities once stood. The story of Oscarville and its destruction is a horrifying example of the violence and depression encountered in African American communities throughout American history. However, efforts are being made to preserve the memory of Oscarville and honor the lives of those who were lost. The Black Student Union at the University of North Georgia has created a scholarship in the memory of the victims of the Oscarville lynching, and there are ongoing efforts to uncover more information about the community and its history. In recent years, there has been a renewed interest in the history of Oscarville and other similar communities in the South. Organizations like the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation have worked to document the history of black communities in Georgia and advocate for their preservation. The Forsyth County Historical Society has also taken steps to recognize the history of Oscarville and other lost communities in the area. Despite the efforts to preserve the memory of Oscarville, the community's history remains largely unknown to the general public. Many visitors to Lake Lanier are unaware of the story beneath the water's surface, but it doesn't end here. Vanport in Oregon is another place now buried underwater. Vanport in Oregon. During World War II, the United States witnessed an unprecedented surge in its manufacturing and industrial sector to support the war effort. This period saw the rapid growth of shipyard industries, which became vital in producing warships and military supplies. One of the shipyards was located in Vanport, Oregon, which quickly became the second largest city in the state. The shipyard industry offered job opportunities, and many people migrated to the city in search of work. As the demand for labor increased, African Americans from the southern states were drawn to the shipyard industry in search of better job opportunities. However, due to systemic racism, the Albina neighborhood was the only place where black people could legally reside. The Albina neighborhood soon became too small to accommodate the growing population, and a solution was needed to address the housing crisis. Vanport was built as a temporary solution to house these new workers. The city was built on a floodplain, and this decision would have devastating consequences. At its peak, Vanport housed 40,000 residents, with 40% of them African American. Unfortunately, in 1948, disaster struck the city when the Columbia River flooded the neighborhood. The floodwaters destroyed the town within a day, displacing over 18,500 families, more than a third of whom were black Americans. The aftermath of the flood exposed the systemic racism that existed in Oregon. White supremacists attempted to keep black Americans out of the state, and the state legislature passed laws to preserve the state predominantly white. The Oregon Black Exclusion Laws restricted black people from owning property or settling in the state, a practice that continued for several years. Even after the laws were repealed in 1956, the legacy of systemic racism lived on. The former residents of Vanport never forgot their lost community and fought for years to preserve its memory. The Vanport Mosaic Festival is held annually to honor the lives lost and celebrate the city's rich history. The festival showcases the city's diverse cultural heritage and aims to educate people about the history of Vanport. The festival features a variety of events, including live performances, exhibits, and oral histories from former residents. The legacy of Vanport still resonates with the residents of Portland today. The city has a troubled history of racism and segregation, with the African American population facing numerous obstacles, including access to education, housing, and job opportunities. However, in recent years, the city has progressed in addressing these issues. It has launched various initiatives to improve the quality of life for the African American community, including affordable housing, job training, and education programs. The Vanport Mosaic Festival is a testament to the resilience of the former residents of Vanport who fought to preserve the memory of their lost community. While progress has been made in recent years to address the legacy of systemic racism in Portland, much work still needs to be done to achieve equality and justice for all. Next is Sasana, a former village in Alabama, now home to a large lake. But before we get into it, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you for the support. We aren't just telling stories, we're changing lives and waking the culture up. Now let's get back into it. Sasana Village in Alabama. Sasana was one of the most prosperous and thriving small towns in Tallapoosa County, Alabama. This charming farming community boasted a wealth of businesses, including a bank, sawmill, grist mill, post office, and even its own gold mine, situated on Blue Creek between Curry's Point and Still Waters. Sasana was a beacon of hope for pioneers seeking a new life in the American South. But sadly, Sasana's bright future was not to be. In the early 20th century, the construction of Lake Martin resulted in the town's submergence underwater. The once vibrant streets and bustling businesses were lost forever, leaving only memories and scattered remnants of the past. According to Alabama Living, the flooding of Sasana resulted in the relocation of over 900 bodies from cemeteries in the area. This poignant fact underscores the depth of loss experienced by the people of Sasana, who saw their homes and loved ones swept away by the rising waters. Despite its tragic fate, Sasana's legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of Alabamians and history buffs alike. The town's former glory is evidenced by the wide range of businesses it once supported, including a gold mine, a school, 2 mercantile stores, a grist mill, a flour mill, a sawmill, a blacksmith shop, and a church. These varied enterprises served as a testament to the ingenuity and perseverance of the people of Sasana, who built a thriving community from the ground up. And lastly, it is the once vibrant Ferguson town in South Carolina. Ferguson town in South Carolina. Ferguson, South Carolina, was once a thriving lumber town, founded in the 1880s by Francis Beadler and Benjamin F. Ferguson. The town was established to support the operations of the Santee River Cypress Lumber Company, which was responsible for harvesting old-growth timber from the Blackwater River wetlands in central South Carolina. The firm owned and controlled over 165,000 acres of land, mainly of bald cypress timber. The founders of the Santee River Cypress Lumber Company were both northern lumbermen from Chicago who saw an opportunity to capitalize on the rich timber resources of the South. They purchased large tracts of land and built a sawmill and a kiln to process the timber into finished products, such as railroad ties and lumber. Ferguson was constructed to house the workers operating the sawmill and other facilities. To attract workers to the town, Beadler and Ferguson invested in the infrastructure of the new village. They built paved streets, provided indoor plumbing and installed street lighting with coal gas. The company town system was used to exploit workers who were paid in an untransferable currency that could only be used at the company store. The town's workers and their families depended entirely on the company for their livelihoods, as there were no other sources of employment in the area. Despite exploiting workers, the town of Ferguson thrived for several decades. The sawmills cut wood, and the kiln produced treated wood products, including creosote-infused railroad ties. The post office began operations in 1890, and the town had several businesses, including a bank, a hotel, and a general store. The town's residents had access to various services and amenities, such as a school, a church, and a library. However, the Santee Cypress Company shut down its Ferguson operations in 1915, which led to the town's decline. Workers were laid off, and the post office shut down in 1917. Ferguson became a ghost town, abandoned and forgotten. Over time, the buildings fell into disrepair and were eventually demolished. In the following years, the land that was once Ferguson was repurposed for various projects. The Santee Cooper Power and Navigation Project, which began in 1939, included the construction of the Santee Dam downstream from the Ferguson site. The lake's shallow waters covered most of the town's site, including its streets, buildings, and cemetery. Today, Ferguson is a submerged ghost town that lies beneath the surface of Lake Marion. Despite its disappearance, the legacy of Ferguson lives on. The lumber industry, which was once the town's lifeblood, is still an essential part of the economy of the South, and many companies continue to harvest timber from the region. The town's story is a reminder of the industry's impact on local communities and the importance of fair labor practices. The submerged town is also a unique site for divers and history buffs who can explore the underwater remains of the town. Lake Marion, which covers an area of about 110,000 acres, is a popular spot for fishing, boating, and other recreational activities. The lake is home to various fish species, including largemouth, bass, catfish, and crappie. There are also several campgrounds, picnic areas, and hiking trails around the lake. The lake's proximity to several major cities.
I'm gonna leave this right here, but those were most of the towns were black owned. So my question is, did they ever tell you about this in history? What happened in Oregon and in these different places? But you think it was up to America? They don't want to tell you about some of these stories. They don't want to tell you about slave breeding. They don't want to tell you what's going on, what is the past. But there's certain things in the present that's still going on to this day. This is why black people ask for reparation. So because there's a lot of descendants from these people that still walk the land who are black, who have been displaced, and they need to track. And if the government would honorably do that, they would honorably do what's right for the descendants of the ones who were massacred for falsely being accused of things they didn't do. That's what makes it right. I told you, America is a spirit of land of racism. It has been here for centuries, decades, and now you have to see, why are African American and Black Americans talking about this? Because they're descendants from different parts of the country. They were robbed. They were shot, they were killed, they were moved, they were displaced. And so their descendants feeling generations to this day from what their ancestors went through. And it's never been justified, only somewhat in Oregon. But Alabama needs to step up, Georgia needs to step up, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Florida, and these other places need to step up and do the right thing. If not, then you know what's going to happen. The curse is going to come upon you of what you've done. And there have been people that are white that have died in Lake Lanier. I saw someone do a segment about that. It's mysteriously drowned. But somehow, these people don't understand this. Even in the afterlife, someone's coming after you. It was this once, I was just watching the show years ago, and it was on Unsolved Mysteries. And I don't know if anybody remember Unsolved Mysteries. Remember, it was a neighborhood, I don't know, was it somewhere in Mississippi or Georgia or Alabama, where this neighborhood had cemeteries. And guess who were buried in the cemeteries? black people. And these white people, it was, and over this black cemetery, to this black neighborhood that was probably wiped out, they put their gentrification through it. Well, if I ever see that show, I'll show you where the residents who were white were sick, getting sick, their children and their grandchildren were dying. They finally left. Some of them left that area. The lady was telling a story, and these mysterious dark figures were coming up. And you need to do the right thing by people. That's what I said. In the afterlife, and think about all those areas, innocent people that were massacred and murdered. America's going to pay. As an individual say, I don't have to pay. I think that's a long time ago, and we're gonna write out the history. You're not gonna write out the history, because the descendants of the people who were massacred in those black towns still exist to this day. And it will only if you will make it right with the descendants, like you've done in the time. But until America does something about this, it's going to go. It's going to everything. It drops. Look what's happening now. And I'm not saying, not trying to put no witchcraft or no voodoo, but you can see what's going on. There's injustice in the land, and they don't want to do what's right by the people who they wrongly did their descendants to. Most people that look like myself are the descendants of those people that were lynched. Innocent towns were buried, accused from one in the United States to the other in the United States. Places in New York, in other places. We don't know how many black towns it was, but and they did this on purpose. And you see how the black people were thriving. They were thriving, so they were separate. But it's like what Phil said. But as soon as they got mad, they come over, they burnt the town down. All somebody had to do is say, somebody got to say, "Oh, some black man raped me," town go down. You see how it is? That spirit ain't changed today. That spirit ain't changed today. It's the same spirit. And a white woman can probably do that to this day, and still the town they won't burn the town down, but they give that black person a long sentence. So racism won't go away till what is done is right completely throughout this country. Oregon is making some steps. California's kind of do it. But if it don't start in other areas, them other areas going to bear the grunt of it. Especially in where those original slave ports were at. The Virginias, all the way down to the Carolinas, to Florida, over to Georgia, Mississippi, to Louisiana, to Texas. That whole area is going, in some areas, that's going to continually suffer. And sadly, the descendants of the people in those towns who are black still up under the generation of poverty. And as they keep mistreating them, in some areas of the South, mistreating them, dogging them, misjustice in it, then it's going to flip right back on them. And as they go down south, as we go out west, or as we come to the Midwest and East, racism will cost, one way or the other. Remember, how many hundreds of years ago, back in the 1800s? We in 20. How many years is that since those descendants of slaves put it together? Look what's happening now. And you don't think the modern children of descendants of slaves say, we cry for our vengeance for we've been unjustly done? And then now the unjustly done is going to flip over into the descendants of the ones who did the terrorizing on them black folks. Now their generation is going to start feeling it. Yep. And how's they feeling it? drug abuse, opioids, single mothership, is transferred over to the in some of the white communities. Did you know that? The curse that what they've done to blacks is flipped back over on white people. Who did this? They did this. Their system did this. The discrimination system did it. You have ghost towns who are predominantly white that blacks can't still go in there. And by having predominantly white towns, economically they suffer. And the generation of kids will suffer and to the point that kids will have to leave because they don't want to change. Remember, because you don't want to deal with the stigmatized of too many people that look like myself of my culture. So you're going to pay the price in those predominantly white towns, money-wise. There's nothing you can do. And look at go into predominantly still sundown towns that are still sundown. See if the progression hasn't made, and look at your other towns that have welcomed integrated society, and see how it flourished. You don't believe me? It's right there. But they want to keep it like a normal Rockwell sandwich, predominantly white. Everything look white, they're like the white, and everything black and dark, tip it in the back. Till that's why I use this slogan, Simon Says. There's a lot of people, some people are white, feel like that. They want to say Simon Says till I feel like I can project my views on you. And where they get that, when they look at history like that and they see how black people live, well, they need to be controlled. You don't, and some people say, we all supposed to be human. Yeah, some people, but psychologically, they can't see you as human because history had told them that you were property. So you don't think like a human being as a property, but you're a property. You with a different complexion, hair complexion, skin complexion. This has a change in different areas of living now in different parts of this country. You ask a black person, they'll definitely let you know. They definitely know they know the signs. When you work on a job, where you live, where you go where you go to school, when you're in politics, where your education. And no matter how many degrees you get, you're still descendant of those folks. They still see you as property. There are some people, not everyone, but there's some people who have outward racism and indirect racism. The indirect racist people can serve it really, really well. Till one day, the Most High have them cough it up in a conversation. And you'll see. Ask about reparation. You'll see. Ask about, they believe in justice for all, but what's due is right. Due to what you just viewed. The subconscious racist person is going to be like the racist person. No, I don't think you know. I'm not going to do that. In fact, let's get out of the book. Let's get out. Let's not talk about it. But even if they did do that, the curses still will follow them. Of just what they've done, and it still will continue to this day. And no matter how far they run away from it, it's going to affect them. So seem like you look at us hurt and pain, then hurt and pain is going to follow you too. Saying that we're not human, they're just blacks. They're not human. They're just another people. They're not human. Those are the people who think like that and don't know. I don't think I'm prejudiced. And if when you see it and you call it out, it's like calling a demon out of a person. What are you talking about? Oh, But that's my opinion about that. But yeah, that's America. You can't cover this up. No matter what you do, someone will always. You can't scrub this. You won't be able to scrub this from history. The descendants are still here, feeling the reaping the generations of their ancestors being lynched. The poverty, the crime, everything. And put it this way, Deuteronomy 25 to 48 to 68. We're reaping that. But sooner or later, some of us get out of it is going to reap on the ones who projected on us. But anyway, I don't mean to get too preachy, but hey, had to bring it to an ending like this. Alright guys, I hope you enjoy this video and maybe educate somebody, and maybe somebody will have a change of heart and educate what's really going on and keep an open mind, because that's the only way to educate people to make a better world, is to let people know that you have to face what's wrong. What is wrong is right. Not cover it up, not deny it, but make just what is due. That's the only way we can heal as a human race, as a people. But if you don't, there's going to be tension always there. If you don't do what is just right, now other people got their reparation, got what is due, just due to them. It's time to give it to the blacks. It's time now. If you don't, then maybe whatever's coming to hit the earth is going to hit the earth. And we're going to find out who the people of the... Why it happens? Because it's the people of the book that you read on every Sunday. You think I'm talking crazy? It's hitting as we speak. Think about it. Wherever you go, and the ones who get the revelation of it, because God opened this up to anybody who wants revelation, but when they choose to be man enough or woman enough to stand for it and say, do what these people do, the right thing. If they don't, then they know the cost, because they had that connection with him. Take care.